Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, the Mad Cardwood. Up here today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the shop CEX. Now, I've got here 5 things that I think CEX should start doing, and some ideas on how I think the shop could really benefit from doing some of these things. This is all subjective, of course. I just want to start off by saying that for those of you who don't know what CEX is, it is essentially your sort of, I know it's not just in UK, I know there's in another country, but it is sort of the main go-to shop now for, electronicals and, software, not just video games, but movies, software. It sells everything from mobile phones to game consoles to video games to, DVDs, pretty much everything. It is a pretty good shop, and they have made some improvements over the past few years. The biggest improvement was with the inclusion of retro video games. For a long time they didn't sell other, retro games, and for a long time, CEX is sort of my go-to shop because it has everything in there, because things is, when you think of DVDs and Blu-rays, the only shop now, with Blockbuster closed, the only shop now that, other than CEX, that sell them is HMV. Of course, you've got eBay and Amazon, but that's a different, I don't class that as a shop, I class that as an online marketplace. I find that, their prices, for the most part, are fair, but there are some things that I'm going to talk about in here. Like I said, it's cheaper than going to HMV, and in Game, for example, Game don't even sell anything past generation now. They only really sell, when I go into Game, it's literally just PS4, Xbox, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and then merchandise. I bet, you don't see older games now, at least not in my local one. And CEX is quite a big shop. They tend to have a shop in pretty much every town now. My local CEX is pretty big. It's one of the biggest stores, so it had more stuff to it. But I've got 5 things that I think CEX could take into consideration, and in my opinion would improve the shop standing. First up is better quality control. I'm going to start off by saying that if you take in for hardware, their quality control on hardware is pretty good. Essentially, if you take in, a phone or a laptop or anything big like that, obviously everything is tested. If something doesn't work or there's a fault with it, they won't accept it. But with some things, they'll accept it, but they'll mark it as graded, A, B, C, that sort of thing, which is fair enough, But when it comes to software, their quality control on software can be pretty scarce at times. Often I've gone into CEX and I've picked up a box set or a Blu-ray or a game and it's not been in stock. They definitely need to do better stock take on their services. I understand that if you've got a big shop, it's gonna, it takes its time and obviously short staff. I completely understand all of these, factors that may play into it, but at the end of the day, you really need to sort of put a better stock, maybe dedicate some time to doing stock checks. I know they do these things, but not often enough. 90% of the times when I go into CEX, if I buy a bundle of stuff, at least 1 or 2 of those things aren't going to be in stock. And if they put it out, you would assume that it's available for purchase. These things, I understand, sometimes things slip through the cracks, but it is something that can be really annoying, especially for a buyer, and that. I think with, certain sets, games, DVDs, movies, box sets, for example, they need to have better quality control. For the most part, for cheap DVDs and games, if it's got a little crack here or a little rip here and there, these things can be easily remedied with a simple, purchase of a blank case. You can buy them on eBay and Amazon quite cheap, and it is something that people do. But I think when it comes to like box sets and things, I personally think one method of doing this is anything that's got a value over £25 should have quality checks. If, for example, I was to take in, you know, my Laurel and Hardy box set, you know, and it was scratched to pieces, ripped, you know, things hanging off, CEX should just basically say, we're not going to take this in because of how the poor condition, or if they do take it in, just chop off a little bit of the money, you know. One of the things about like selling on eBay and stuff is obviously you have to be honest with people. You know, if you're selling something and it's, you know, missing a disc, or, you know, one of the discs is slightly scratched, or, you know, the case is slightly broken, you know, you're not going to put it down as very good, you know. It's false advertising. I think CEX need to implement a similar rating system for anything that has value of over £25+ mostly in, like, I've noticed it more in like DVD box sets and things, because it is, you know, for collectors, we want an item that is going to look good on the shelf, you know. I'm not overly fussed. I'm not one of these perfectionists that everything has to be in perfect condition. If that was the case, everything I'd buy would be brand new. You know, you know what you're getting yourself into when you're buying second-hand stuff. But they definitely need to do more quality checks and maybe implement a system where if something's in perfect condition, then sell it at the price that they're offering. But if it has some issues with the box and that, maybe just knock off a couple of pounds off the price so people can go, you know what, I can get it if I'm only interested in watching it, you know. I don't mind, you know, chopping off £3-4 of the price, £5 sometimes. It isn't, you know, the most obvious thing that a company can do, but it is something that is worth taking in consideration. And the biggest thing they need to do is quality checks on the discs. 9 times out of 10, when you take something into CEX, they'll check the discs, and if it's really scratched, they won't take it. They do have disc fixing machines, and sometimes they will offer, you know, for them to check the disc, and it's often in older things anyway, DVDs, older games and stuff like that. But it isn't hard to check the discs and go, you know what, we don't think we're going to sell this. And again, checking the disc for box sets, I've many a time brought a box set from CEX, gone to sell it back, and they've gone, it's missing a disc. And they didn't honour the fact that I brought it from them to begin with. They don't honour that, you know. If you haven't purchased it, they're like, oh, why didn't you bring it back within like the couple of days of buying it? And I think to myself, well, you know, not everyone is going to go out there and watch or play something as soon as they buy it, you know. I think they need to honour this a little bit more and doing better quality checks and understanding that, you know, if they're going to sell a box set that has, you know, 20 discs, check all the discs are in there before selling it to someone. So yeah. The next thing that I think would be awesome is if they accepted other regions. CEX is very iffy on what they accept, especially games and DVDs. If it doesn't have the official rating logo, they won't accept it. If it don't have an official barcode, they sometimes don't accept it. Pretty standard stuff, but at the same time, I think they could really benefit from selling other regions of stuff. I bought stuff from CEX and got home and found that it was like a French version of the game, or, you know, it still plays in English and that, but, you know, or sometimes it's had an American disc in there and stuff like that. It is something that is pretty straightforward. You know, it's one of the most obvious things that they teach people is it needs to have a British, either a BBFC ratings logo or an ESRB rating logo. You know, it's not hard to check these things, but I think they could really benefit from selling other regions. You know, they have World Cinema, for example. They do sell other country things, but unless it's got that British, it has a British, sometimes European logo on it, they're not going to accept it. But I think a lot of people are aware now that PS4 and the Xbox and even Nintendo Switch and certain games consoles are region free. They need to know what consoles are region free, for example. And the same with Blu-rays and DVDs. They should have a system in place where they should know exactly what is region free. If something's region free, they should accept it, you know. I think, but I think they could also benefit from having a multi-region section in the store. You know, some charity shops I've gone to sell other region DVDs and things. I think they would really benefit from doing that, especially like US releases and big box sets. You know, I think they could make a lot of money in doing this. I think it would be really awesome to be able to walk into a store and see, you know, like a region A NTSC DVD that we don't have in the UK. I think that would be awesome, and they benefit a lot from doing that. It's definitely a market out there for it, and I personally love it, getting American box sets, you know, because the options are there now. You know, it's very easy to play other region DVDs and games now. You know, it's not like before. I think they would benefit from doing that, and they could even expand into accepting things like multi-region Blu-ray players and Japanese PS2 consoles and stuff like that, for example. I think they'd really benefit from doing that, and it's something that I'd love to see. The next thing is better prices on what they accept. For the most part, CEX. One of the things about CEX that a lot of people appreciate is how easy it is to sell your stuff to them. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get better prices if you sell on eBay, and I've already talked about this in my how to sell your collection video. But CEX is the easiest option because, you know, 9 times out of 10 you've probably got a store that's close to you, and it's easy to just take your stuff in. You don't have to worry about waiting for it to sell. You don't have to worry about postage and that, you know, and being awkward and, you know, potential returns and stuff like that. It is the easiest option to do. But one issue that I have with CEX, especially as a company for selling stuff, like I said, I've brought stuff from you know, like for example my Dexter box set. I should have sold it on eBay and I would have got about 20 quid for it, but CEX only gave you £7 cash. I think how it should work is trading value should be 70% of the actual price, and cash value should be at least 50 to 55% of the price of what they sell it for. If they sell something for £10, you know, maybe you should get, you know, £4 to £5 cash and then £7 trading credit. They're still going to make a profit on it, maybe not as much, but it is a pretty big company and they don't not make profit. Another thing I've noticed is they don't actually take into consideration out of print DVDs. I've gone into CEX many a time and seen something that's out of print, or seen it online that's out of print, and they don't honour that. You know, we're a thing, you know, whereas in the US, I know you guys have out of print stuff goes for a lot of money. For example, for me was the CKY box set. You know, that's out of print and that's going for about 20 to 30 pounds on eBay, but CEX would only give you £2 for it. And I'm thinking they need to have a better quality system and checking what things are actually worth the money. Again, everything is subjective, you know, as you know. This is more aimed toward DVD and stuff. If something is out of print, you know, I think they should definitely offer a better price for rarity of something, you know, because if they can, you know, I've took PS2 games in there before that I paid £3 for originally from them, found that it was worth £50 trading credit now, and I'm like, wow. So they do check these things, but I think they need to do it more with DVD and Blu-ray. They need to get a better system in place and offer people a little bit more money for their stuff. The next thing is, while this doesn't really apply to me as much, but one of the big things that CEX did start doing was selling retro video games and retro, you know, video game consoles. For many years, when it first opened, I kept saying to them, are you going to sell PS1 games and Game Boy games? They said, no, we're not going to do that yet. And then all of a sudden they did start doing it, because obviously there was this big boom of retro video game collection, and it is something that a lot of people do enjoy. But one issue I have with their retro selection is not everything do they accept as retro. It's only certain games they will accept and sell in retro, you know. So for a collection, you you know, or completionist, it's very hard to actually get a full collect. If you're going for like a PS1 collection, for example, CEX won't sell all those cheap games. They will only sell the obvious one that they know they can make more money from. I personally think they should start accepting more retro stuff. And another thing I think that would be pretty cool is CEX was actually start accepting retro technology and retro music, and you know, things like Laserdisc, VHS, for example, possibly, you know, records and things. I think it would be, they could really expand their market if they added more retro stuff. And again, same with like retro PC stuff. While it's a pretty niche market, there definitely is, you know, a consumerism for it. There definitely is a market for it. I think they can make a ton of money doing these sort of things. I think, you know, people have this sort of technology and don't realize that, you know, you might have an old Walkman, for example, that's actually worth a ton of money. I think CEX could really profit from adding more retro stuff. They've made progress, but they need to do it a little bit more. And the last thing is, I personally think they need a better benefit system in place for, so, you know, like a lot of these companies now, you have these reward cards. Game has one, and, you know, you can earn points and stuff. I think CEX need to do a similar system, because you have to, when you get CEX, you sign up, you get a card, and all the card allows you to do is sell stuff to them. If you don't have it with you, they can check your thing, and also you can get your receipts to your email. I think they need to implement a reward system in place for people that purchase stuff. And what they should do is, for example, I don't know, something as simple as for every £1 you spend, you get like 10 points on your card, and then you can add up those points and use those points for a voucher, essentially. So, for example, if you had 1,000 points, you know, 10 points would be worth like 10p. 1 point is worth a penny. I think that would be useful, and a lot of, you know, I think 90% of big markets, supermarkets, you know, big companies, HMV, a lot of these companies have their own reward cards. I think CEX should implement a similar system in which they offer you some rewards for buying stuff, and possibly another cool feature. I think another feature could be a similar thing where you could add, you know, when you, for every, say, £20 of stuff that you sell to them in voucher, for example, maybe you get some extra reward points on that. I don't know. Those are just some things that I think. So there we go, guys. I just wanted to share with you 5 things that I think CEX should implement into their system. And like I said, you know, this is just, the reason I talk about it is because CEX is the primary basis for most people in the UK, for collectors, for gamers, for music, for media in general. I personally think, you know, other than that, they're a decent company to buy from. But these things, like I said, would actually, I think, benefit them in the long run. So if you're watching CEX, or you know, if you work at CEX, for example, and you're watching this video, maybe pass along these ideas. Maybe they'll go forward with them. Who knows? And as always, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and comment below. Tonight, I'm going to watch the movie 2001 Maniacs. Well, I kept showing it. This is the remake or reboot, Robert Englund one. I don't really know much about it. I've never seen either. Last night I watched the movie 31, the Rob Zombie one. I enjoyed it, but it was very obtrusive with its editing. There was one scene where you could barely see what was happening because of how quick the camera was and the angles. And there was another scene where it was flashing lights constantly. You could barely see what was happening. I hate when movies throw in flashing lights and it just distracts you from what you're actually meant to be seeing. But it was an okay film. I didn't hate it. But I felt like without those problems, it would have been a much better film. And as always, guys, subscribe if you haven't already, and join the family. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MadKaiger, and have a nice day. And I'll see you in the next video. Just so you know, possibly next week I'm going to be going away. I'm probably going to do a vlog video maybe tomorrow, give you an update of what I've been watching, what the plans are and stuff like that. But as always, guys, see you next time.